Sean Combs led and participated in a racketeering conspiracy.
How is Cassie? Is she emotional? Is she like feeling okay with this? Is she nervous?
She's ready. How are you guys feeling? How'd it go today?
I believe he's innocent, and we're going to fight this case with all of our might until we don't have to fight anymore.
Day one of Diddy's sex trafficking trial came with explosive testimony, bombshell new details from a male escort about the alleged freak-offs. And the testimony was so graphic, Diddy's daughters were seen getting up and leaving. We are on the ground in New York City with the very latest. Plus, we're spotlighting a story that has everybody talking. A victim speaking from the grave, giving his own victim impact statement using artificial intelligence. His sister joins us live. Also this hour, defendant Karen Reed's retrial resumes. We're wondering, was John dumping Karen? The evidence seems to point in that direction. We'll talk about it right here on Opening Statements. Good Tuesday morning to you and welcome to Opening Statements. I'm Julie Grant. Are you ready for coffee and court? That's what I like to call the show. We get you all warmed up and ready to go for the big day ahead on Court TV Live. And what a big day it's going to be. And we got a big show planned, so let's get to it. Grab that cup of coffee. It's time for my opening statement. Just as I predicted, what's coming out in Diddy's trial is nothing short of stunning. Testimony on day number one revealing some nasty facts about the alleged freak-offs that Diddy allegedly forced his former girlfriend and artist, Cassie Ventura, to engage in. The jury heard testimony from a male escort describing dark hotel rooms, extra linens, Astroglide, and baby oil. Some of the details about the massages and the unprotected sex were so uncomfortable that two of Sean Combs' daughters were seen leaving the courtroom. And perhaps the most stunning moment of the day was when the male escort told the jury that Combs would have him urinate on Cassie while he watched and masturbated. The escort also testified that he remembers seeing Cassie visibly drugged and slumped over on a couch on one occasion, and that he once took drugs from Combs. The male escort also said that he witnessed Combs beating Cassie, but said that he was afraid for his own life if he reported it. Sure seems like this federal jury is going to have to identify the line between freak and felon. The federal government alleges that Combs' behavior was coercive and criminal, whereas Combs' defense lawyers say that his sex life is being put on trial and that everything that happened was between capable, consenting adults. So freak or felon or both? We'll have to wait and see all the evidence as this historic case against a hip-hop legend is just beginning. That's my opening statement. Let me know if you like it. Right now, it's time for your daily docket.
I mean, it was obvious that it was true, and I just didn't feel my brother was going to, there was no reason to lie. Clearly, he was coming to me, wanted me to do something about it. And it was true, because, my dad never denied it when I talked to him about it.
In California, it is a big day for the Menendez brothers. Day one of their resentencing hearing starts today. So what's going to happen? We'll find out together when court kicks off at 11:30 a.m. Eastern time. In Hawaii, we've got the man who allegedly attempted to kill his wife by pushing her off of a popular hiking trail. That guy is due in court. Dr. Gerhard Koenig. He's got a motions hearing today at 4:30 p.m. Eastern. We will be updating you on that. And in Massachusetts, we've got testimony continuing in defendant Karen Reed's retrial. That starts up at 9 a.m. Eastern. We will go there live together when it does. And that is all for now on Karen Reed, but we'll be talking about it a little later in the show this morning. But first, let's get to your top story. It is day number 2 of Diddy's sex trafficking trial. More cross-examination of the male escort Daniel Phillip is expected. Court TV legal correspondent Kelly Craft is on the ground there for us in New York City with the latest.
Good morning to you, Julie. The first day of the government's criminal trial against hip-hop mogul Sean Diddy Combs, it was filled with graphic testimony describing sexual encounters between Combs other men and women. We do expect more of that graphic testimony today when the state's star witness, Cassie Ventura, is expected to testify. Sean Combs in court Monday for the first day of his trial, wearing a light gray sweater, standing when defense counsel gave her opening statement and said, "This is Sean Combs. That's the name he was born with. He's from here in New York, Harlem." She said the government has no business in Sean Combs' private bedroom. We heard from the government, though, that Sean Combs made women like Cassie Ventura and another woman named Jane wear high platform heels, have their nails painted white, dress in lingerie, and as characters as he watched them engage in drug-induced sexual encounters called freak-offs. He forced them to do this, says the government, and they lasted from 1 to 10 hours. The second witness on Monday, Daniel Phillips, a male stripper, he testified that Cassie Ventura, the state's star witness, hired him to have sex with her in front of Diddy. He shared explicit details of encounters involving how he urinated on her after she requested he do so. He testified, "We had sex. She had asked me if I was comfortable rubbing baby oil on her. We rubbed the oil on each other first and then had sex, and Mr. Combs was in the corner masturbating." The government asked, how long did the encounter last? Phillips responded, not long. Julie, proceedings get back underway here in New York at 9:30 a.m. Eastern Time. I want to mention that yesterday when we were making our way inside the federal courthouse, we were in line. We were next in line to go through security, and then we were stopped. And why were we stopped? Well, because family members of Sean Combs had arrived, so security was ushering them inside that courtroom. That's the latest from here. We'll send it back to you.
My goodness, what a trial this is going to be. Our thanks to Kelly Craft for that update. We'll have more updates when things get underway shortly. Now, let's dig in to these details. I have two tremendous guests here. One of them I'm so happy to have in the studio. Claudia King is here with us. She's a former law enforcement officer, a domestic violence expert as well. Wonderful to have you at our headquarters. And we have Melba Pearson joining us remotely. She's a former homicide prosecutor and the director of prosecution projects at Florida International University. Melba, great to have you as well. All right, so where do we begin? This explosive testimony, my goodness. Let's just start with your reactions. Claudia, what did you think, please?
I mean, I really wanted to take a shower after I heard
Yes.
those things. Absolutely ridiculous. And I see the power and control. This is an abusive relationship. It's very clear just from what we heard yesterday. In addition to it being disgusting, you can really see that power and control playing out by Diddy.
Yes, power and control, what domestic violence is all about, right? My gosh. Melba, your thoughts, first impressions of what we saw on Monday.
I mean, we thought, first of all, good morning, and we thought what we saw in that awful video from the Intercontinental was bad, but to hear the actual graphic details of what Cassie and others endured day after day for years is just completely heartbreaking. And to hear the sex worker actually try to offer her aid when, you know, she was being beaten, and literally she went to him for solace, as opposed to the person who supposedly loves and cares about her. She had to jump into the arms of a sex worker, and he was literally like, this is not okay. You need to leave this relationship. And she did, unfortunately, what so many survivors do, which is, I'm okay, it's gonna be okay, basically, I can handle this. And the reality is, she really needed to get out because she was being violated and degraded in so many different ways. And my heart just breaks for her so much.
Melba, you're so right. Ours do as well. What's it going to be like today when she is perhaps called? We think that she's going to be witness number 3. We have a clip where we caught up with her lawyer outside of the courthouse on Monday. Let's take a quick look.
How is Cassie? Is she emotional? Is she like feeling okay with this? Is she nervous?
She's ready.
She is ready. She's also pregnant, God bless her, and visibly pregnant too. So in the later stages of her pregnancy, what will that be like when she is up there? Claudia, your thoughts as you're picturing this, her recounting those horrible events, and then the defense trying to cross her. They made some statements when they talked to the jury in open, making it seem as if, you know, she was good with this. She, you know, it was a little bit walking that line where I thought, they might regret this later. Your thoughts?
I agree with you. I think they need to be really careful about how they handle her. From her perspective, though, this is going to be great for her, and it might not feel like it in the moment when she's on the stand, but this is her reclaiming her power. This is her taking back control of her life and looking her abuser in the eye and saying, no, no more. I am strong. This is not happening anymore to me, and I'm here to face you and fight. So I'm super excited for that moment for her, but I do think the defense needs to be really careful how they handle her, because the jury's not going to like it if they attack her.
Right, Claudia. And I love what you said. I had chills as you were talking, saying this is her moment to reclaim her power. Melba, you know, you and Claudia both have so much expertise in the area of domestic violence. As a prosecutor, when you're doing the direct examination of a victim like that, what are some of the things you may be sharing with her behind closed doors about how to be strong and retake your power and let the secret get out?
Well, actually, it's almost more like just be yourself and allow space for wherever your emotions take you. So do your best to get the story out. But if you need to take a moment and cry, do it. If you need a break, tell us. Because again, you're recounting some of the most horrible, embarrassing moments of your life in front of a whole bunch of people you don't know. And that's incredibly traumatizing in and of itself. So to try to have a witness so scripted that you're like, don't cry, just answer the question and that's it, that's not practical, and that's not honoring where they are in their journey. So you just want to make them, you know, walk them through what you're going to ask them, let them be prepared and comfortable with that, but also let them know what resources are available in terms of taking a break, tissues. We're going to have a victim witness counselor with you. Are there any family members or other people that you want, you know, around to be able to support you through this very traumatic time?
Yes, Melba, thank you for the support system. So key. I want to share with you all now some of the most disturbing details that came out on day one. We may hear more when the cross begins this morning. So here we go, looking at Daniel Phillips's testimony. So he was an escort that testified that he would be hired, you know, by Diddy. Cassie would give him the money to come and have sex with her on many occasions in front of Diddy, unprotected. Testified that Combs would make him urinate on Cassie, and he would watch and masturbate while he was watching. He testified that he saw Cassie drugged on one occasion. That was very concerning. She was slumped over on the couch. He said that Combs threw a bottle of liquor at Cassie once and dragged her back to the room by her hair while she was screaming. As I'm reading that, Claudia, I'm thinking about what Melba was just saying about how when a domestic violence survivor has to go into the courtroom and share these horrific moments, perhaps the most horrific moments of their life, with a room full of strangers and a bunch of people judging the case, that has to add to the anxiety and the trauma. Would you speak to that, please?
Yeah, it absolutely does. And, you know, what she has to do is really just focus on her attorney. Pretend that that's the only person in the room and talk to him. You know, you can look and speak to the jury, but when you are recounting those things that are so difficult to talk about to someone you love, much less to strangers, you really just need to focus on that one person, speak to them, and like Melba said, be honest with your feelings, don't fake anything, be yourself. If you get emotional, that's okay.
Exactly. It's human, it's normal. Gosh, this trial just goes to show us once again, you never know what's going on behind closed doors. I look at those pictures of Cassie, she couldn't look more glamorous and gorgeous and happy. And then I hear this, and like Melba said, it breaks your heart. There she is, Cassie Ventura, victim number one on this case, a strong survivor and arguably the best witness for the government in the case against music icon Sean Diddy Combs. Our coverage is going to continue after the break. We're focusing on Diddy's family, his daughters leaving the courthouse during some of the most graphic testimony of the day. Plus.
Hello, everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. It means a lot. And for everyone who has supported my family and loved ones through 3.5 years and 2 trials, I wish I could be with you all today.
Bringing the dead to life in the courtroom. An AI-generated victim impact statement is going viral. Yes, that's what you just saw. That was AI. Well, the victim's sister, she's not AI. She is joining us live on the program to tell us all about it.
As Sean Diddy Combs faces a federal jury, Court TV's Kelly Craft is live from New York.
It was an emotional day in court.
With every development, the Diddy sex trafficking trial, live updates on Court TV. Join Court TV's Vinnie Politan with the latest and breaking true crime stories.
Now, let's look at the other side of all of that.
Vinnie Politan Investigates, tonight, 9/8 Central, only on Court TV.
They did their thing. I was to your boss today. Congratulations to NYU, champs. So back up. Give us a little space. Give us a little space.
So that was right there. See, 3 of Diddy's daughters leaving the courthouse on Monday when testimony in his federal sex trafficking trial turned quite graphic. Their reaction to the testimony is what's trending in true crime this morning. Jurors expected to return later this morning for day 2 of cross-examination for former Escort Daniel Phillip, who testified about multiple sexual encounters with Combs and Cassie Ventura, Diddy's artist and longtime girlfriend. So here's a little bit more of what Phillip told the jury, that he had sex with Ventura after rubbing baby oil on one another every time, that Combs was sitting in the corner masturbating while Mr. Phillip was having sex with Ventura, that they had unprotected sex, and that Combs once took a picture of his driver's license and said that it was for insurance purposes. Now, speaking on his daughters, we're asking, what is the effect on the family? You know, what effect does it have on them to hear this testimony? And is the jury paying any attention to it? Surely they might have seen them get up and leave from the gallery. Let's talk about it. Let's bring back in domestic violence expert Claudia King, attorney Melba Pearson, and welcome in attorney Randolph Rice, also a former homicide prosecutor like Melba. Good morning to you all. So let's start at the trauma. Claudia, would you kick things off for us, please? Your thoughts on Diddy's daughters?
This has got to be incredibly difficult for them because no one wants to think about their parents' intimate moments, even in a regular situation. So this has certainly got to be very traumatic for them to hear some of this, and I can't blame them for getting up and leaving. I think that might not play well for the jury that they are leaving during some of this difficult testimony. Maybe they should not have come in, you know, at all for some of this testimony, but I'm sure it's very traumatic for them, and they're victims too. That's what we have to remember. These are victims as well of what Diddy has done.
Claudia, thank you so much for saying that. You know, oftentimes we think of victims just in the instant case, right, on the indictment. Here, the government is focusing on 2 victims in particular, Cassie being one of them. But you're right, family members, and of the accused, family members can be victimized. You all know that. Randolph, Melba, I want to go to you next, please, Randolph. Your thoughts on the impact on these children?
Well, good morning, guys. It's certainly got to be very difficult for them, and I would hope, and I'm sure that the government certainly warned them about what days, what witnesses would be tough to sit through and hear. But, you know, they're torn. They want to be there and they want to support their father, but at the same time, like you said, it's tough to listen to the things that happen in private that your father has done. So they certainly are in a really tough spot.
Yeah, they definitely are. You know, the government, as you know, Melba, kicked things off by saying, yeah, you know, Sean Diddy Combs, you know, he's a famous music star and businessman, but you don't know the private side of him. And Melba, I keep thinking about with these children, certainly they have to know a lot, but there were details yesterday that many of us who follow this case so closely have never heard. Your thoughts on what this might do to them long term, even to kind of grapple with some of this?
Well, first off, I think it's going to wreck their relationship with their dad, because despite them sitting in solidarity and having a brave face for the public, privately, they're like, wait a minute, like, we saw Cassie, we saw you and Cassie, she was cool, you did what to her? You know, so even if he heaven forbid, isn't convicted for this, I mean, I'm going to be very blunt about where I stand with this. I think he should go to be under the prison. But be that as it may, you know, even if he isn't convicted, I think that his daughters are still going to be traumatized because they can't unhear what they heard. And they can't unsee any photos and obviously the video and things like that. So that's always going to be in the back of their head every time they look at their dad. So I think that relationship is going to be irreparably damaged as a result of this case.
That's an excellent point, Melba. Thank you. We have some more graphic details from that male escort, Daniel Phillip. He describes the encounter with Cassie and Sean Combs with a request of urination. He recalls the encounter where Ventura asked him to urinate on her after her and Combs entered the hotel together. Combs and Ventura both directed him to let a little out at a time and not go full. Combs was masturbating while he urinated on Ventura, while Daniel Phillip urinated on Ventura, and these sexual encounters could last from an hour to 10 hours. All right, our next question. How similar is this case to R. Kelly's? Are people thinking about that case? Is the jury thinking about it as they're taking in the details? Ooh, that was one we covered extensively on Court TV. He's sitting in prison for a long, long time right now for what he did. Melba Pearson, let me start with you. Do you think that any of the jurors might be thinking, you know, two music stars? I know the facts aren't exactly the same, but curious if you think anybody might be kind of making comparisons.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's impossible to escape that. And also so close in time in terms of, you know, when this case and all these activities and crimes are alleged to have happened. And also R. Kelly and Diddy ran in the same circles. They were contemporaries. So it's very hard to divorce the two in your mind, especially since they were requesting similar things. And while R. Kelly was more victimizing underage girls, he was still victimizing young women. And Cassie very much so was a young woman when Diddy started to victimize her. So there's too many similarities to ignore, and the shadow of R. Kelly is going to play very heavily, I think, over the course of this entire trial, especially with these new revelations that came out yesterday and will continue to come out.
Yeah, excellent analysis, Melba. Randolph Rice, to you next, please. Your thoughts.
Yeah, Julie, you remember during jury selection for this case, the jurors were actually asked and warned about how graphic this testimony is going to be. And certainly day one lived up to that. It's certainly something they prepared for. But at the same time, I hope that they're not keeping the R. Kelly case in their mind, because they want to come into this with a clean slate. They want to be, you know, an open mind and unbiased about how they're going to judge this case and these facts against, you know, the defense.
Right. Randolph, and appreciate that point. Thank you for that. The jury was warned. It makes you wonder if they realized it'd be this bad, but you're right. They were warned in the jury selection process. Ooh, what a day number one was. Claudia King, your thoughts on this case as compared to R. Kelly's case. Do you think jurors are drawing some thoughts in their minds about similarities between these stars and the alleged conduct here?
I think they probably are, and they're more so thinking about the stardom effect, the fact that these two famous men thought it was okay for them to treat women the way that they treated them. So I think that's probably the similarity that they're really sticking with, and that's going to play difficult for other stars when people look at them and wonder, what are you doing? Are you doing the same thing? So it's just a black mark across the whole industry, I feel like, at this point.
Yeah, it kind of makes you wonder. I keep wondering what more we're going to hear about, or any other people going to be implicated throughout the course of the testimony. So to be determined, as we know it's still early. Excellent analysis from you all. Thank you kindly. Melba Pearson, we have to let you go. Thank you for all of your insight this morning. We'll see you soon. Randolph and Claudia are coming with us. Please do the same at home. When we come back, here's what's ahead for you.
To Gabriel Horcasitas, the man who shot me. It is a shame we encountered each other that day in those circumstances. In another life, we probably could have been friends.
This is wild. That is an AI-generated victim impact statement. And of course, it's got everybody talking. We have the sister of the deceased victim joining us live on the program next. Plus, Was John O'Keefe in the process of dumping Karen Reed? We'll talk about it in What's Tipping the Scales. Welcome back. So what if a victim could speak from the grave? Well, this morning, our spotlight shines on new AI technology that allows for just that. Christopher Pelkey was the victim of a road rage incident that took his life, sadly. But even though Christopher was killed, he still had a voice in his case.
Hello. Just to be clear for everyone seeing this, I am a version of Chris Pelkey recreated through AI that uses my picture and my voice profile. I was able to be digitally regenerated to share with you today. But here is insight into who I actually was in real life. Take a look.
All right, I'm Chris Pelkey. I served with the United States Army in the infantry. I'm from upstate New York.
So, as you can see from my video, I recorded in 2021. This here is a true representation of who I was, you know, not how the courtroom portrayed me. So, I would like to make my own impact statement. So, hello everybody. Thank you so much for being here today. It means a lot. And for everyone who has supported my family and loved ones through 3.5 years and 2 trials, I wish I could be with you all today. To Your Honor, Judge Lang, thank you for making yourself available to see this case to the end, especially when the rescheduled trial conflicted with your daughter's spring break. To Gabriel Horcasitas, the man who shot me. It is a shame we encountered each other that day in those circumstances. In another life, we probably could have been friends. I believe in forgiveness and in God who forgives. I always have, and I still do. Thank you to everyone for being here. It means more than you know. Well, I'm gonna go fishing now. Love you all. See you on the other side.
My goodness, can you believe what we just saw? So that was played in the courtroom right before the judge imposed sentence for the man who killed Christopher Pelkey. And he was sentenced to the max, 10.5 years in prison for the crime of manslaughter. And now we're so pleased to welcome on the show Chris Pelkey's sister, Stacey Wales. Stacey, good morning to you. Thank you so much for coming on the program. And might I just say, first off, we're so sorry for the loss of your brother, and we're so moved at what we just witnessed. How did you come up with the idea for that?
Julie, thank you so much for telling this story. It was about 1.5 weeks before we went to sentencing, and we had known for 2 years that we would be able to make impact statements. I'd actually been writing my impact statement since the first trial. This was the second trial in his case, and we finally were going to be able to be heard May 1st of 2025. So 1.5 weeks before the trial, before the sentencing happened, I was trying to pen my own thoughts. I'd actually been keeping a notepad for 2 years with ongoing victims impact statements that I wanted to make, and it just wasn't coming out. And I actually wasn't able to even read what I had written for those last 2 years. It was too painful to revisit. And when I started to write down what I wanted to say, it just was at such odds with what I thought Chris would say. And I couldn't bear to echo for myself, as myself, what I thought he would have said. So then I had the idea, well, why can't I just write down what I think he would say? I knew him very well. I knew him best, as my mother did. He lived with me for 6 months before he died, with me and my family. We were completely integrated. We had talked about controversial opinions before, and I knew where he stood on many issues, as did everybody who knew him, because he was a very black and white person, and you knew where he stood on issues and opinions. So I turned to my husband, who I knew had the capability to make AI avatars, and I said, I'd like to make Chris's impact statement heard at sentencing. And I'd like you to bring him to life from a picture we have and have it sound like him and read the words that I wrote down. I've been writing my impact statement for 2 years, but I wasn't able to get that down, I put down for him what he said in 5 minutes. And I did it the old-fashioned way with pen and paper. There was no AI involved in anything he said.
Wow, Stacey. Stacey, did it bring you more comfort in a strange way, seeing him and hearing his voice at that critical moment before the judge imposed the sentence?
I knew that he was being humanized, and that was our goal. Our victims' rights attorney, Jessica Gattuso, let us know that our goal at sentencing was to humanize Chris and to make the judge feel. And so I launched a campaign to reach everybody that I could find in his network and social media that ever knew him, from his elementary school teacher to his prom date, to people he went to the military with, to where he lived in New York and Texas and Colorado and Arizona, and did missions work over in Liberia. We heard from everyone, from every aspect of his life. 49 victim statements poured in for the judge to read ahead of time. This was not provided in a vacuum. Many people think that this may have been the only thing that the judge weighed his decision on, but 49 other voices were heard before he ever heard or saw Chris. In fact, 10 of us went down to the courthouse that day, and we made our impact statements live in person. And 2 of those were my 14-year-old twins. How could anything I say be more impactful than the grief of a child? They stood there with the judge in front of them and the shooter over their shoulder to talk to the judge. It was profound. Pictures that we played, 65 pictures that went along with everything that people were telling the judge in person. And then the final thing was to have Chris speak. And so by the time the judge heard that, and he even commented that he thought that what Chris said was very representative of what the kind of man that he was learning about. And that brought me incredible comfort and peace. And I knew that this was impactful, and I knew that this was humanizing Chris when the defense attorney himself was the very last person to be heard in that courtroom before the sentence was handed down. And the defense attorney even referenced this AI and said Christopher Pelkey would possibly have been friends. And I tend to agree. I've been through his cell phone and have read many hobbies that they had together. And I tend to agree. And he thought that that should have leniency for the judge. But what's most important is what Chris didn't say. Chris didn't ask for a sentence. He didn't ask for the max. And the reason is why. Number one, I don't actually know what Chris would want for the sentence. He did believe in justice and he did believe in accountability, but I don't know how many years he would like. And so I wasn't able to echo that, but I knew that he would forgive this shooter. I could not hear that in my head.
Wow, it was profound, and I think perhaps even shocking for some people to see that, to see the forgiveness, shocking in the very best way. Stacey, tell me, you touched on this a little bit about how the court had also the ability to consider the victim impact statements from several other family members and friends, all the people who loved your brother Christopher so much. And it is legal, as we learned in Arizona, for a victim impact statement to be delivered in this way. For any of our viewers who may be wondering, the statute says any way you would like to have it done as a surviving victim, you can present that way. Of course, there's always still going to be criticism from people outside watching the news who see it, and this has gone viral, as you know. What's your response to any criticism from people who say that, oh, that shouldn't be allowed or it's unfair? What do you say to that in response, Stacey?
Is it not fair for our opinions to be heard? This was an opinion piece. It was not put off as a deep fake or anything like that. It was clearly introduced. I also made my own impact statement before hitting play on this. And so I let the judge know that I would like Chris to be heard. This is how that I heard it. And as far as the fair piece, the defense side, the defendant and his family were also all heard in the same day. They had the same opportunity afforded by their defense attorney to write in letters, and they had. And his side, the defense attorney, had 3 people speak, including the shooter, at sentencing. So both sides were heard. Our side, we believe, was more impactful because of the severity of the crime, the severity of the missing. And the only way that the judge knew Chris was from 2 pieces of evidence offered in trial, from the autopsy photo and from the closed-circuit TV security camera of Chris being blown away on the street and dying on the road from a security camera that captured that. And so what is unfair? Humanizing Chris what is controversial here? If I had stood there and read a letter and I said, this is how I hear it from my brother, and I had a picture over my shoulder, would we be talking about this today? This hits a nerve because it's a new technology. And 190 years ago, they had the same societal reaction to photography that was introduced. And can photography not be used for beauty and for good? It can. So can AI. Can photography be used for pornography or for pedophilia today even? So it is, who says it's not fair? I think it's perfectly fair that we are able to be heard, and we were so thankful we had that ability in Arizona to do so.
Yes, well, and appreciate your response to that. I applaud your creativity, Stacey, and I wish you and your family well as you've suffered an immeasurable loss.
Thank you.
And so every good wish going forward. Thank you kindly for your time this morning.
Thank you.
When we come back, we'll turn our attention to the big case in Massachusetts. Was John O'Keefe in the process of dumping Karen Reed? That's next.
Karen Reed, a killer girlfriend?
She's guilty.
Or the scapegoat in an elaborate cover-up?
Karen Reed was raped!
Karen Reed is accused of murdering her police officer boyfriend.
And it's stated repeatedly, I hit him, I hit him.
She may end up taking the stand.
Her first trial ended with a hung jury.
They haven't proven anything.
Will a jury finally agree on a verdict?
We know who did it.
The Karen Reed murder retrial. Live coverage today on Court TV.
Welcome back. Let's talk about what's tipping the scales. We've heard the angry voicemails, and we've read the mean text messages sent between defendant Karen Reed and John O'Keefe. And this morning, we're wondering if the rocky relationship could tip the scales with the jury. The couple had been dating for about 2 years, but on the morning of John O'Keefe's death, Karen left John a pretty nasty voicemail.
John, I'm here with your kids. Nobody knows what the you are, you pervert. Yeah, it's 1 in the morning. I'm with your niece and nephew. You pervert. You're a pervert. John, I'm going home. I cannot babysit your niece. I need to go home. You are using me right now. You're another girl sleeping next to me. You're a loser. Yourself.
And then there were the text messages. Reed texting John O'Keefe the night of his death, saying, quote, tell me if you're interested in someone else. Can't think of any other reason you've been like this. O'Keefe responding, nope, things haven't been great between us for a while. Ever consider that? So this morning we're wondering, was John on the verge of dumping Karen the night that he was killed? Or did he dump her? Let's talk about it. Let's bring in Claudia King and Randolph Rice. Okay, your thoughts on this? You know, that was a bad day leading up to the event in question, as we know. Claudia, let me start with you. Do you think that there could have been a breakup at their last point of contact together?
I think that's incredibly possible. What I also find interesting is the fact that she sent him that message, are you interested in someone else? Well, we know she was.
Yes.
And often the people doing wrong accuse the other person. So I find that very interesting. But I think this could have been the final end of the end, and that's what had her so incredibly enraged that night.
Yes, you know, and that's interesting. I mean, you're an expert in the area of abuse, domestic violence, you know, all about narcissistic abuse. That is always a tell with narcissistic abuse, that a narcissist will accuse their victim of what they've done. That's something that experts will tell you. So that's interesting. So you're saying there could be something hidden there, maybe with the accusation. And we know she was interested in Higgins. You know, I have no idea if she's a narcissist or not. We've seen a lot of behavior. We'll take from it what we will. Randolph Rice, speaking of how this behavior may be resonating with the jury, so I wanted to show you another text message. This is the night of John O'Keefe's death. Reed texting at 2:30 that afternoon saying, can you please admit your head is out of the game with us? John responding, sick of always arguing and fighting. It's been weekly for several months. Okay. That day, she sent an awful lot of messages to him before he was killed. And we know there were a lot of voicemails left after he didn't come home that night, after she is alleged to have hit him with her car. Randolph, what impression do you think the jury may have of Karen Reed?
Well, that, I don't know if we have enough time in this show to cover that, because there's just so many different things that are going on here, you know, and I think that the jury probably vacillates back and forth between liking her and maybe feeling sorry for her and then maybe hating her. I think there's no argument here that she's probably an angry drunk, and that's certainly something that was shown that night in those voicemails that she left on John's voicemail. But remember, that can actually help the defense a little bit there of showing that she didn't know what she did, believing that he was still alive. So was the relationship rocky? Were they going to break up? You know, it's hard to tell because it seemed to be rocky for a long time, and maybe they just kind of were able to live in this world of it being difficult, and they needed each other, and that's why they stayed together.
Yeah, great points, Randolph. Excellent points. Claudia, you were telling me off camera that you really see a cycle with them as you analyze the behavior, the texts, the voicemails. Tell us about what you're seeing, please.
Absolutely. So it's like the cycle of violence, but kind of in a different toxic way. So you see that cycle of them fighting, arguing. You look at that Caribbean trip that they took where there were issues, and it seems like they played this terrible time, text messages, anger, and then they make up and things are better for a while. And so it was this toxic cycle that they seem to have going. Unfortunately, some people like that. They're okay with being in that situation because it's better than what they don't know. They're okay being in something not great because at least it's the not great that they know.
You explained that so well. Claudia, thank you. I'm glad you mentioned the Aruba trip. We have a clip about that. One of the friends that was on it, first meeting Karen, here's what she said.
Well, my sister pulled me aside from everybody and asked if the night that I got into the altercation with Miss Reed in the lobby, if I was making out with Mr. O'Keefe.
How did you respond?
That I absolutely was not.
Okay, the Aruba trip, that was detailed in the first trial quite a bit. We haven't gotten there yet in this trial. Who knows if Hank Brennan will put it in. Randolph, back to you on that. What did you think about that testimony and how it painted Karen Reed?
Well, Claudia made some great points earlier about how this suspicion that she had of what was going on with John O'Keefe, and somehow maybe it's a mirror upon herself of what she was doing. You know, she had a lot going on in her life, you know, and she's fighting with people. She's arguing with guests on a Aruba trip. You know, it's not good for her. It doesn't look good in front of the jury going to your last question. So do they take that, if they do take the stand, do they take that and say, gosh, you know, she's not only angry with John, but she's angry with other people. Maybe she's just an angry person all around.
Right. Yeah. What is going on with her? I think that's, you know, the jury may be wondering, does she have anger management issues? Does she have trouble controlling her anger? People, you know, who understand domestic violence may be wondering, was she abusive toward him? Was she verbally, emotionally, and then did it culminate with a violent act, throwing the car in reverse, allegedly, and hitting him? We'll have to leave it there for now, but such a great discussion from you both. Randolph, you're coming with us in our 9 a.m. Court TV Live Hour. We thank you for that. And Claudia King, thank you for being in the studio this morning. I'll see you back here tomorrow morning, same time, same place. And my friends at home, I'll see you tomorrow morning, same time, same place. Opening statements every weekday morning here on Court TV, and we put the episodes up on our website for you. If you miss them or want to watch a segment again, you can always do that. Just go ahead and click on that red shows tab.